my goal is to give you an overview of some different options after high school that might not be traditional four-year college, talk about some job stuff, and then leave some time for discussion and questions. So hopefully you have some after the stuff that I introduced to you. So let's go ahead and get started. My goal is to get through these slides in about 15 minutes max, and they're jam-packed. If you have questions, drop them in the chat. If any of my coworkers, including the award-winning Jermaine, congratulations, by the way, in person. If y'all can alert me, feel free to just interrupt me as I'm talking because you know I can get going. All right. One norm I have is I will always tell y'all the truth. So if you ask me a question and the answer might not be pretty, I will still tell you the truth because I'm preparing y'all for the adult world. It's what I tell my students here in Houston. After we release you from high school, whatever you do, reality starts to hit you a little bit at a time. So I want you to be as best prepared as possible. And when you make millions, remember me, all right? And come back and show the love. All right, y'all, so here we go. I'm gonna make this bigger. Like I said, we're gonna look at some post-secondary options here. Who am I? I got a great introduction. I appreciate my friends in Dallas for the great introduction, but my name is Daniel Zendejas. My kids here in Houston call me Mr. Z. I am over what we call career integration. It's career readiness for all of our high school students, regardless of what your pathway is. And we're going to talk about some of those options here in a little bit. My background is I went to Trinity University in San Antonio, and then the Moore School of Music at the University of Houston. Both degrees are in music, which clearly you're probably wondering, how does that qualify me to teach what I teach and do what I do? But I've been working in education and different industries in the areas of work for over 24 years now. I'm getting old. So I have a lot of experience that applies, but my first job was at SeaWorld of Texas. If y'all have ever been to SeaWorld, I was in San Antonio in high school when it first opened, and I actually went to their first job fair and got a job working in guest relations and front gate at SeaWorld. From then, other jobs I've had, I worked at recruiting for a company known as Enron that some of my coworkers might have heard about, has a very salacious past. I was a band and orchestra director using my degrees in a school district here near Houston. And I was a corporate trainer in hospitality. I worked for Hilton and then Norwegian Cruise Line in Hawaii for a few years. And then eventually this led me to working for our workforce board for the last 10 years before coming to KIPP. So I have all sorts of experience. That's who I am. That's what I do. I know a lot about work in different industries, and hopefully I can share that information with you. So let's go on. All right. Our goal today is to talk about non-four-year college options. You will get a lot of expertise, again, from my friends in Dallas that lead KIPP through college and career there about four-year college options. My space is to fill in the other things, right? So we're going to talk about primarily number 4 and number 6, fast track training programs and 2-year college programs that are skills training focused. Number 5, again, is something that you have experts there with you in the city that will talk to you about that as the years, weeks pass by. I'm not going to really touch on that. We will briefly touch on 1, 2, and 3 as well. If you have any questions about those, again, stick them in the chat. Let's get started. Number 1, we don't often talk to y'all about the option of going into the military, but I'm not going to tell you all about it. In fact, I'm telling my coworkers in Dallas, if y'all have kids going into the military, I have a 4-part module series now. It's a lot of me talking on video, lessons, research on getting prepared for the military. So feel free to ask us for those as you need those. But if you choose to go into the military, the one thing I want to point out as it relates to your career is at the bottom. So we're going to start from the bottom up. Your MOS, which is your military occupational specialty, that's also known as your career. That's determined by the scores you get on the ASVAB, specifically your AFQT, which is your Armed Forces Qualifying Test score, and then the line scores that go with that. I'm not going to go into all the detail that goes with that, but it's very similar to an ACT or SAT. So much so that we have a comparison chart here to show you the minimum qualifying score. So some of y'all might be thinking like, I don't really want to focus on the ACT or SAT because that's not what I'm doing. I'm going to go into the military. You still have to be somewhat college ready to go into the military. Looking at the first line, if you want to join the Air Force, you have to get a 31 AFQT score on your ASVAB with a high school diploma. That's the equivalent of a 15 on the ACT. All right, so if you're trying to establish yourself for that career path, that's kind of the number you want to aim for. That's just the bare bones, y'all. Again, talking about jobs, that's going to qualify you to get in and for the minimum skilled jobs. Lots of infantry, most likely to go to war, not really skills building, not building skills that are going to transfer out to civilian life. And so you want to aim a little bit above that. And then one other thing I want to point out, and not stick on this slide too long, is if for any reason you wouldn't graduate and you're like, I'm just going to go get my GED, that minimum number to get into the military goes up to the equivalent of a 17 or 18 on the ACT or a 50 on the ASVAB. And so that high school diploma comes with it some street cred, right? Do we have any questions about the military there in the chat? I haven't been keeping up.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Mr.
I was going to say no. We just had students say that they were interested or thinking about going to the military.
Perfect. There's a lot more information. And just to give you an idea, y'all, let's say you wanted to be a combat nurse in the Navy. If you want to pursue that career, your minimum AFQT score and then a bunch of other smaller scores called line scores generally fall in the 85, 90 range, which is going to be in the equivalent of like a 25 or 26 on the ACT, right? And so again, preparing academically for that really matters. If you have more questions, I see some of y'all are getting inspired by that. You can feel free to email me. My information is going to be at the end of the presentation. I'm also going to share some more resources on that with my team in Dallas. All right, let's keep going.
Mr. C, really quickly, students, please chat in yes if you knew there was a minimum like test score that was needed to join the military, or chat in like no if you didn't know that before now, just to thank you all. This will help us figure out if there's new information or just repeating information. Thank you, Mr. C. Please continue.
Perfect. No, I was not in the military. I saw that question, but my family's fairly large. My mom and dad, between both sides of the family, I have 21 blood-related uncles and aunts, and what was the last count? About 64 first cousins, and we had a total of, and we counted this last family reunion, 24 people in the military, 9 serving as peace officers or police officers as well. So I am from a military, safe, security, police family. So there you go. All right. Yeah, good job, Saul. All right, let's move on. Let's say you want to own your own business. I see a lot of this in Houston. I actually have my juniors and seniors fill out what we call a career wish list. It gives me their top 3 career options, and about 5 to 7% of any given class say they want to start their own business. Here's my advice. I tell everyone all the time. Here I do have direct experience. I have off and on run my own consulting business with some peers. And it's a lot of work, and it's fun to be your own boss. But here's some things you need to know. Number 1 and number 2 go together. You need to have street cred. You can't just say you're going to own your own business. I have a lot of men and women in Houston that say they're going to start some sort of haircutting business. It's going to be a barber. They're going to go to cosmetology, do hair, nails, lashes, but they have no street cred. Like, I'm not going to trust you with clippers on my head until I've seen what you've done. All right. So having a credential helps, which is going to get into a point I make later, right? Develop your skills, and then you got to do it differently and better, especially in something that's really saturated, like cosmetology, like the culinary arts. You're going to want to have some sort of signature piece. One of my friends owns a very successful barbecue business here in town, but even though his barbecue was delicious, until people started saying it was delicious and he was getting in the news, he was struggling. He was not making money. And so you have to have that street cred. And then to my third point, You need to have important people that have money and can help sell your product, make testimonials for you. Speaking of money, I just did a lesson on money for my kids here. You need capital. Capital is anything that's of value. So like you want to own your own business. You know it's illegal to actually cut hair out of your own apartment or house. You have to have licenses to do this stuff. So you would have to actually buy somewhere that's licensed, approved by city code, pay for all of that, and then have money to buy equipment and start your business. There's advertising, all the things involved in getting clients and getting them to your business, right? That stuff that costs money is called capital, all right? And then finally, you can work toward all of that with some sort of skills training. It's a point that always makes some sort of training after high school. I'm not saying you have to go to four-year college if you don't want to. If you can, you have the potential, you want to, you should. But some sort of training. The military has training if that's an option you want to do. So you have to make smart choices. Then we're going to talk about what those other options are here too. But first, I want to tell you all about the worst option. All right. And it's something we're experiencing a lot here during COVID, but I'm going to stop, see if you have any questions about owning your own business. Y'all, I have so much information on all of these topics, so I really am going very high level. But if you have any questions on that, I'll pause right here. Anything?
Thank you, Mr. C. Students, has anybody considered owning their own business? Just type in yes in the chat if you have thought about that. Thank you, Chosen. And if you're open to sharing in like what, please go ahead and type that in as well, like what you have been thinking about having your own business. Thank you, G.
And one thing is y'all are thinking, y'all, it's something I tell all our students here and every adult they talk to, is you don't have to make one choice. You know how y'all make a college wish list? You don't have to say, I'm gonna be accountant, and that's what you stick with. It's best to have options. You all saw my career past. I worked in hospitality. I worked for a large energy company. I've taught K through 12 plus higher ed. I've taught at the university level. I've been all over the place. I worked on a cruise ship. I traveled 100% of the time when I worked for Hilton. I didn't stick one job in there that I did for a summer. I worked for a company called Cirque du Soleil, which is a theatrical performing group out of Las Vegas. So I've done all sorts of stuff, but it's identifying what you're good at and finding people that are gonna pay you for it, right? And so big lesson learned, whatever you do, do it well so you make money. I know, right? I don't know, I don't make a lot of money yet. I make enough money to get by and have things I enjoy. So there you go. I'll tell you when I figure out the secret. Let's go on then. This is something I want to focus on very seriously because like I said, during COVID, it's a big issue. Y'all are doing school from home, which I know is hard. It's hard for me here. I talk to myself a lot on camera making lessons. It's tempting to want to go out and get a job because there's more flexibility in your schedule. And then the appeal of having some money becomes an attraction that some of y'all say, you know what, I'm not gonna do anything past high school, I'm just gonna keep working. Facts based on data, based on facts. Your highest unemployment rates and your lowest wages are gonna be people that didn't finish high school, so good for y'all for continuing to persist. But it also includes those that only do high school and get the diploma. And right now, the unemployment rate for people that have not finished high school and finished only high school is 5 times as much as it usually is. 5 times as much, right? And that's already amplified by that rate's already higher than everybody else, all right? So that group's already gonna be more unemployed. And then right now, during a traumatic systemic event like COVID, which is happening during an age of lots of trauma from social justice and lots of other things we can't get into, all of that amplifies your likelihood to be more unemployed if you don't have that education. So big point I want to make. You're going to hear it all the time from me, whether or not you want to. If you get just some training or education, let's say you do one of these fast track courses I talked about in a while, It's $100 to $200 a week more you're going to make just by having some skills you can sell and getting to better jobs. All right. That's anywhere from $400 to $1,000 more a month. All right. So I think all of us would enjoy having more money just for a little bit more time invested. I already made 0.3, those jobs that are low wage, low skill, working at Walmart. I have one student that she used to make fun of herself because she always smelled like Whataburger fries because she worked at Whataburger. She's like, I don't want to smell like fries anymore. Like that was her motivation. She's like, I can't do this the rest of my life. She actually texted me last week and was like, I'm so glad you talked me into at least going to 2-year because like I can't imagine living that life of low money, right? So think about it. And then there's just much less opportunity for advancement. Even being like a manager in some retail requires some sort of degree, right? So you can only work yourself up so much. There you go. I just have to, I'll get off my soapbox, but I have to say that to every student I talk to so y'all know. Want to get in your head. So what if you're a student that's like, I don't like going to my traditional academic classes. I dread going to history. I don't like going to algebra. I don't like writing. But maybe learning isn't completely out of the question, but you might like a different type of learning. That's what we're going to talk about for this last section here where I'm talking. There are different training options for y'all that are more skills-based. I'm thinking about things like welding, nursing, cosmetology, bookkeeping, which would be entry-level accounting, real estate, where you're learning skills that are directly related to the type of work you're going to do. In a lot of cases, you're learning skills that are going to prepare you to pass a credential exam to get certified to do something. And so we're going to talk about how you might get there and those options, if that might be a more appealing track for you. And so there are 2 ways to get there. There's fast track training, and then there's going through the 2-year college system. Let's compare these, and then I'm going to pause for any questions because these slides are really loaded. First of all, if you decide to go to skills training, and let's just put this in our head so we have an example. Let's say you want to learn to be an auto mechanic. You can go to a 2-year college. You'll need to complete the Common or State app to get into the 2-year college, which you're going to do anyway if you're doing the 4-year college apps too. The fast track program will have an application. It's not going to be that Common app, and they're usually not as involved. In terms of cost, you will have to pay money to go to a 2-year college to do these workforce programs that will require a FAFSA or TASFA. And then the TSI is needed for a level 2-3 certificate or an associate of applied science. We'll talk about an exception to that in a little bit. For fast track programs, no TSI, and in fact, all the ones we're going to talk about, except the apprenticeship program, are free. However, you still might need a FAFSA. They need to see your financial eligibility. So you need to be able to do that financial aid paperwork. Number 3, yeah.
Sorry, Mr. T, before you keep going, students, feel free to let me know what FAFSA is if you want to everybody else.
I forget. So this is mixed grade levels, right?
Yes. And don't make me call you. Come on. I want to see a brave volunteer. Avi, do you remember what a FAFSA is? You can chat it in or unmute. Yes, go ahead, please.
I actually don't remember what is a FAFSA.
Okay.
I totally forgot.
Who can help her out? No worries. Gio, do you want to take a guess?
If I knew, I would have said it earlier, being completely honest. So I got no idea what FAFSA can actually mean.
Okay. So quick overview. FAFSA is a financial aid application that is a free resource for anybody who wants to apply to either 2-year college or 4-year college, any type of like post high school education. It's a free application that gives you financial aid. And then my other question, I don't think anybody has heard of TSI either. So I know you all are familiar with ACT. TSI is pretty much an exam that lets you know, like, am I college ready? Based on like tech success initiatives. So sometimes you don't have to worry about TSI if your ACT is high enough. But towards the end of junior year or beginning of senior year, you will be taking TSI to make sure. It pretty much says like, are you ready for college level classes? And if not, here's classes that can help you like catch up any skill gaps that you still might be missing. Sorry, Mr. C, feel free to.
No, that's important. I'm used to working with juniors and seniors where we've already established the baseline right on that stuff. So no, feel free to interrupt and catch me on that. So in short, where we left off then is that TSI is an exam that says you're college ready for public colleges in Texas, essentially. And like Ms. Ariana said, it's possible to exempt out of it based on your other test scores. But for what we're talking about here, what you need to know is if you do a level 1 certificate, which I'll tell you what that is in a second, and you're not qualifying on the TSI for college, you get exempt from that for that level 1 certificate. So it's just something to know. When you go to 2-year college, you're going to have what we call stacked credentials, where you can aim for one set of skills. They'll give you a certificate that says you've completed this much, and then you can continue to go up the ladder and acquire more certificates. When you do a fast track training program, it's usually just one level, all right, where you can't continue to stack those on top of each other. Because of that, 2-year college, as you continue to get more skills, you're going to open up more jobs that you can do. Fast track, it's usually a limited number of jobs. For the 2-year college, it will take you longer, especially if you do an Associate of Applied Science degree, a level 2 or a level 3 certificate, but you're going to get a better return on investment, more and better jobs that pay more. For the fast track programs, they'll be faster, usually no longer than 6 months at the most. So the ones we talk about are about 10 weeks, and they'll offer you some work assistance, but you're not getting college credit. So let's say you decide what you're doing and you want to go back and get more credentials. A lot of times you're going to have to go to the college and start over to build those credits if they don't give you enough credit for your experience. So just something to consider: cost and money, time. All right, let's go on to more details on this. So let's look at 2-year colleges. If you pursue a program, let's say you want to go into a cosmetology program, the basic program toward a certification to become a cosmetologist can be achieved through a level 1 certificate at some colleges, not all of them. Some of them embedded into a level 2 certificate. It takes less than a year in addition to any required lab hours you have to do. It's an entry-level certification. The TSI is not required, like you said, and it's Pell eligible. I'm going to pause right there because I might have hit another word that we don't know about. Is that true?
Yes, Mr. C. So can anybody unmute and share what Pell is? Have you heard about Pell or grant? Thank you, Michael. So in short, pretty much when you complete your financial aid application, you will get 2 types, actually 3, but for today, let's keep 2 types of financial aid. One are grants, and the good thing about grants is there's free money. So Pell is a specific type of federal grant that you will get. The second part of financial aid you can get is loans. So loans are, can anybody tell me how loans are different from grants? What do you know about loans?
I don't know about grants, but I do know loans. Usually, when you ask for a loan, you have to then pay it back later on. And I believe you have a little bit more than what you normally got from the loan.
Yes, Gio, thank you for sharing that. That's correct. Loans you do have to pay back. So what Mr. C is saying here, for level 1 certificates, you can get financial aid, and the Pell is actually a grant. So can anybody chat in? Do you have to pay back a grant? Is it free money or is it like a loan? Feel free to put it in the chat or you can unmute. Maybe.
Okay.
It's like a scholarship, Gio. Great job. It is like a scholarship. It's free money, but it's based on need.
Yeah.
All right. So Pell is free money, like a scholarship. You do not have to pay it back.
And one important thing to note about Pell, it is first come, first serve. So when y'all get to that point of applying for financial aid, don't delay in getting that stuff in, because if you're Pell eligible, you will want to get to that Pell money before it runs out. Each college has so much they can use, and you'll want to make sure that you get your part of it. For a level 1, level 2, and sometimes a whole 2-year degree can be paid for just by using Pell based on where you go, right? And so talk about return on investment. I can't afford college. It's okay. You don't necessarily need to, because you have all this free grant money that you don't have to pay back. All right. So remember that those of y'all that are here now have an advantage over others that haven't heard that yet. All right. So level 1, Pell eligible. Level 2, all of these are Pell eligible, but I want to point out that level 1 is Pell eligible, even though you're not required to have a TSI, and it's not giving you a degree per se. Level 2 and 3, just what they sound like. They take a little bit longer, and they come with more credentials. They're going to make you more marketable to employers. And then the top of a level or a 2-year college workforce training program is going to be an associate of applied science. It's a terminal degree for a high-paying occupation. And let me give you an example of one of those. 4 of my young men from one of my high schools last year decided to go to a community college here called Lee College. And 3 of them did an instrumentation tech program, and 1 did a petrochem tech program. Both of these are workforce training, 2-year Associate of Applied Arts degrees in the oil and gas industry to work at a plant. And one of them is going to graduate in December and already has an offer from ExxonMobil for $82,000 a year with a 2-year degree before he even graduates. $82,000 a year is a lot of money. So I've had people I work with that don't make that much money. So it is possible if you choose the right track, okay? And the last thing I want to say is, with a 2-year college training program, you are building college credits. Let's say you change your mind and don't like the area you're studying, but you found something else. Some of those credits can apply to another program. All right, here's something I want to point out because it's something I run into a lot. Some of y'all might be like, and I'm going to take cosmetology. Let's take welding because it's the example on the screen. You want to become a welder, but there's a school that's saying, hey, I know you can go to, Dallas Community College and do welding, but if you come here, you'll do it in half the time. All right. And it might seem more appealing. They're like, our classes are fun. We have people from industry teaching them, whatever. These private for-profit schools can teach you the same skills, but they're going to cost more, and they're going to, in exchange, maybe not come with the same type of credentials. So I gave you an example here. What I'm going to do for the sake of time and moving to our last piece is I'll share with my coworkers in Dallas the sheet that I have that explains this. But I just want y'all to be aware that these private for-profit schools can also use your financial aid, including Pell, but they're not always the best return on investment. So you'll learn the same or similar skills, but if you look at my example on the right-hand side, Houston Community College will give you a 2-year welding degree for about a little over $6,000. For 4 times as much, and about half the time, the Tulsa School of Welding, which is private, will give you a certificate in welding, which is not the same at all. And so how do you want to spend your money? I would rather have that additional $18,000 in my pocket. I don't know about y'all. So there you go, something to consider. Let's talk about fast track training. With the help of, again, my friends in Dallas, did a little bit of research. I dug deeper, made some calls, talked to some people. These are the best 3 options that exist now that are consistently offering training. A lot of the times, these fast track training programs are done by nonprofit community-based organizations or some type of labor union. And so I gave y'all 3 examples that I really like because of the benefits they offer in the industries they target. The top 2, Perscalis and Generation, are both absolutely free. You do have to fill out an application in both cases. With Generation, you're going to do a video interview, you're going to do an admissions interview, and they may ask you to actually do a demonstration task to show that you can manipulate things that are mechanical or technical. So there is a price to pay in that they're not just going to give you a spot. You have to demonstrate your interest and aptitude to be in these programs. But both of these are in IT, information technology or computers. Both are about 10 weeks. There's one option with Perscalis that's 15 weeks long. Generation has 100% online options if you can't travel to the location. But the good thing is they're short, about 2.5 months, and they give you something that's a credential in a very needed field. So if you're someone that likes messing with computers, but you're just like, I can't for whatever reason pursue the 2-year college option and go through those stackable credentials, these are good programs that are also aligned with employers. They're going to help you get interviews to hopefully get a job. That's a big benefit with both of these, that they're lined up with industry so that you can also become employed. What you don't want to do, let's say you go somewhere and you want to invest in training, whatever it is. You find a program that one of your friends is going to, whatever. The first question I always ask those programs is, how are you going to get me a job when I graduate? Where are you going to get me a job, and how much do your graduates make, right? You want to know how much money is out there. And so those are two options that are free and they help you get a job. Last really good option y'all have, and this is the JETSI, your electrical training center, operated by your local electricians union. Y'all have a registered apprenticeship program. It's not absolutely free, but the way a registered apprenticeship program works is once you qualify to be in it, you're committing for 5 years in this case, or 8,000 hours of on-the-job training. But they place you in a job, you get paid as you learn. And here you start off at $15.33 an hour to learn to become an electrician, which is a really great paying job. You will pay about $600 per semester for your training, but they take it as a payroll deduction, right? So they pay you, but then also take the money out to pay for the training. It's great because working in the union skilled trades like electrician or plumber, it's almost guaranteed work, and it's stuff that we need all the time and have a labor shortage in. So those are the three I wanted to focus on. There are others. These are the best ones. Last slide I'm going to talk about is the hottest things to pursue. Let's say you want to do something hands-on statewide, but then also specifically in our big metropolitan areas like Houston and Dallas. Here are the big jobs you might want to go for that are hands-on. Anything computer related or coding, large engine or diesel mechanic, not necessarily small car or automobile mechanic, much needed, higher paying. Your blue collar traditional welding, electrical, plumbing, which I've been talking about. Healthcare technology. I want y'all to be very aware of what I said here. It's the technology that helps healthcare. Super hot job right now, a little bit dangerous, and we need people doing it as a respiratory tech, people that work the machines that help people breathe. That's super hot right now, and it's going to pay, coming out of your 2-year program, anywhere from $19 to $23 an hour, which is about $40,000 to about $48,000 a year, which is a great above living wage. And then other technology in healthcare, paralegals, people that help lawyers, very high paying job coming out of a 2-year certificate program. It's going to be generally in the $60,000 to $65,000 range, especially in Houston and Dallas. And then things that aren't so hot right now, cosmetology. Again, if you want to do that, that's great, but it's highly saturated. A lot of people are certified in that. So if you're going to do it, you got to do it better than anyone else and have a unique way of doing it. All right, nurse's aide is not high paying. Any sort of office clerical assistant, very high saturation, not high paying. And then, like I said, the small automobile credentials. All right, I'm done talking. I went 27 minutes, so I apologize. I did not achieve my goal, but I'll stop there and leave room for questions, conversation, and leave my contact information on the screen.
Thank you, Mr. Z. That was a lot of really helpful information. Students, feel free to unmute to jump in with any questions or place them on the chat. Thanks, Abby. Yeah, if you have any feedback, we do want this time for you. Like as we bring different information for you about different post-high school plans, we want your feedback and hear what is helpful, what can make it more helpful. Any questions for Mr. C now that we have him?
I'm kind of curious if y'all want to chat in what kind of jobs y'all are looking at, like what kind of careers y'all are looking at right now. Electrical engineering is great. Mechanical is the worst performing. So if you go into engineering, don't let them talk you into mechanical right now. But electrical is great. Civil's good. Y'all that are looking at engineering, new energies. It's all about solar energy, wind energy. If you want to make a ton of money, and again, remember us when you're rich, new energies. It's the way to go. What else y'all got? Let's see. I want to be a teacher. Thank you. Speaking of a job that will always be needed, insider secret on jobs. Jobs that are people that help people and can't be automated are always going to be around and always growing. Anything in healthcare, anything in education. We can never completely automate education as demonstrated by this pandemic. What I mean by automation, it means your job has been replaced by a machine. Perfect example is grocery store at Kroger. Now, half the lanes, if not more, are shut down because they have these self-service lanes where you check yourself out. That cashier position has been automated into a machine. I took students to a warehouse, the Ozark Water Warehouse, where they only have 9 employees and all the forklifts operate by themselves. And there's only 1 employee that operates all the forklifts. It's kind of creepy. They're going along in the factory, picking stuff up, dropping it off in the trucks, and there's no one driving it. That job has been automated. All right, so definitely jobs that are people-centered, you want to look into for sure. Future technology-centered, you want to look in for sure. What else we got? Engineering, gamer. Okay, so question. I'm glad you said that, whoever our gamer was. Are you planning on doing like Twitch, YouTube, that sort of stuff?
David, feel free to mute yourself.
Or competitive gaming, like e-gaming? Have you not thought about it?
I don't think we heard you, David. Sorry. Can you try that again?
I said, say that again.
What type of gamer, like how do you want to make money from gaming?
Like a game tester.
Okay, that's a little bit more possible, but you can actually go, and I'm sure y'all know this, those of y'all that play video games online, you can actually become a competitive gamer, right? Where you're actually, people are watching you on Twitch and things like that, and you're competing and getting money. I actually went to a gaming arena. There's going to be a video that comes out hopefully in the spring where I talk about jobs related to gaming from an actual gamers arena. And it's a whole new world for me. Yeah, if you want to get into that, it's best to learn coding and things like that, y'all. So learn about the technology that operates the stuff you're interested in. Anybody else? And if y'all don't want to talk out right now, understand, feel free to reach out to me with any of your career-related questions. If y'all are freshmen, 9th grade, 10th grade, you're not quite to that point yet. As you come along, take a Snapchat of that, or snapshot of my email address. That way you can reach out to me anytime. I don't mind responding to any questions. As I tell my kids here, there are no dumb questions. The only dumb questions I get are from adults that I've told them the right thing to do, then they do the wrong thing and want me to fix it. So y'all are young, you're acquiring knowledge, do the right thing so we can live in a great world, y'all.
Mr. Z, quick question. You said mechanical engineering is going down. We have a lot of students interested in auto mechanics. What would you recommend? Like, how do they explore what they really like about that field, and what other fields could connect with what you've seen, like, really is appealing to students?
Yeah, so the next lesson I'm going to put out on U Science Unpacking. So this year, U Science unpacks in 5 parts for us, and it's lots of detail. But the next one that comes out is about related careers, right? And it's finding something that isn't in a declining market. So the reason mechanical engineering is going down a little bit is because the idea of like the traditional machines that we rely on are being replaced with things like nanotechnology, stuff that we don't necessarily see, right? So mechanics are, by the nature of how the world's developing, going down, right? In exchange, though, one of the examples I gave is if you want to become a mechanic, look at large engine versus small engine, because now we're looking at like wind turbines and mass transportation vehicles, like speed trains and things like that, where large engine mechanical engineering and mechanics is going to be more relevant than small engine. Things like that you need to think about.
That's helpful.
Decisions, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Y'all, I will leave y'all with this. I don't necessarily want to take up all your time just blabbering. We talk a lot about STEM careers. As someone that didn't get a STEM career, I was very much in performing arts. There's 3 things that are required for you to find job happiness. Not necessarily life happiness, but if you have job happiness, it doesn't take away from life happiness. You got to do something you're good at, right? So identify what you're good at. You got to do something you're interested in that hopefully you find some enjoyment, whether it's working with people, playing video games, making food. I'm having a talk with 5 of our kids that are looking at culinary arts right after this. And I'm going to tell them the different schools that you can go to for that. Something you're good at, something you're interested in, and then something that's going to make you money. If you have the 3 pieces to that pie, you're generally going to be happier, but it requires some work and research to find that stuff. Don't just go with I'm interested in this. I had one young lady that she loved animals and wanted to become a vet, but I talked to her about what she was good at, and she hated science. She did not like biology. She took an F on her dissection project because she couldn't injure the animal, even though it was dead already. And so I said, when you're a vet, you're going to have to actually operate on animals and do things that might make them uncomfortable. And she had never put those together. So we found other pathways for her to explore her interests, also doing something she was good at that would make her money. So keep that in mind. It's the best advice I give anyone that's looking at possible future careers, all right? I enjoyed working in performing arts. I was good at it. It was real unreliable money, especially now, all my friends that work on Broadway in New York City are not working, and so they're not making money. And so keep those 3 parts in mind. It was a joy talking to all of y'all. Please reach out if you have any questions. Reach out through your counselors. And Dallas.